Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30 in Central Europe, where I'm based, and for some of you, it's earlier or later. Welcome back also to those of you who have joined us yesterday in this meeting, this networking meeting on key challenges to upscaling restoration in the EU and learning from the life experience. I would say lovely to see you back, but unfortunately, I don't see any one of you. But I hope you can see us as well. This event, as you know, is in the framework of the Nature Restoration Regulation. It's the regulation that was agreed last year, adopted last year. And meanwhile, member states are developing their national nature restoration plans. So for those of you who were not there yesterday, it's clear that this event is very timely and that there is a lot of interest into the nature restoration regulation. We had over 800 people registering for this event. People are joining the event as we coming up, and we have people from almost 40 countries in Europe and beyond. My name is Ben Delbaere. I'm a technical monitor at the Benelux team of ELMEN. ELMEN is an organization and a consortium that supports CINEA, the executive agency of the European Commission, who is in charge of running the LIFE program. This event has a number of aims, clearly as the title says, to learn from life experience. That's a key element. We focus on a number of challenges and how individual life projects have overcome challenges, have found solutions and share that with you. Based on that, we will think about how to upscale restoration activities in Europe because of the challenge which is ahead of us with the nature restoration regulation. Large ambitions there, so we need to upscale activities. We have identified in advance three key groups of challenges. One is to transfer of knowledge and looking at capacity building. That's what we covered yesterday in a session. Today we will have two sessions, one on access to land, both access in terms of physical access as well as access to buy land, to purchase land for restoration. And you will have a session on mobilizing other sectors. We deliberately chose not to cover financial challenges, although that might be for many one of the key challenges. But there was a networking meeting 1 month ago on this topic, looking at innovative funding instruments for nature. And that's available on the YouTube channel of the live program, so you can still watch it. Also, we focus in this event on terrestrial ecosystems because marine would deserve quite a different setup, different challenges and different elements to look at. So that might become in the future another networking meeting. So today, terrestrial ecosystem is the focus. Before we start with this session, let me give you also some logistical information on how we run this event. You've seen that the event is being recorded, and the recording will be made available to you and to anyone else afterwards on, again, the YouTube channel of the live program. You will also see that there is no kind of common chat available for us all to jointly chat because there will be too many for that. But there is a Slido possibility to join in and to provide questions and comments to the speakers and to the sessions. So Slido, you will see the QR codes on your screen right now. So please join that and don't only ask questions or give comments, but also use the opportunity if you wish to share your own experience, to let us know about probable projects or databases or tools that you have been developing, which might be of relevance to the topics of today's meetings. Behind the scenes, we have people moderating, colleagues from CINEA and from the European Commission, DG Environment, helping us to moderate the flow of incoming questions and comments. Some of the questions will not be able to address live because they might be off topic or we will have too many. But don't worry, we will record everything and pass on responses to those questions that are not dealt with in this meeting afterwards when we get back to you with a survey and with the video and the outcome of the meeting. So that's, I think, for me at the moment. I will pass on to my colleagues. I will introduce to you the two technical monitors of ELMEN who will be moderating the next two sessions. First, we have José Alvarez, technical monitor in the Iberian ELMEN team. And after that, after the break, there will be a session led by Victoria Maseikate, technical monitor for the Nordic Baltic team of ELMEN. So I first now hand over to José. Have a good meeting.
Hello, good morning, everybody. We are going to review 5 live projects that can provide good examples about the problematic of access to land. I would like only to say some words about when you are dealing with nature restoration actions within the European Union. Access to land can present several challenges, and these challenges can stem from different factors: legal, economic, social, and environmental. But in my opinion, there are 3 main key problems that I would like to point out prior to the talks that these 5 speakers are going to intervene in this second session. Well, first of all, land ownerships and fragmentation are really a key problem regarding the access to land, in my opinion. Private ownership is most of the significant portion of land in the European Union is privately owned. And landowners need to be combined to participate in restoration projects, and sometimes can be difficult, especially if they perceive a loss of economic value or restrictions on the land use. Also, fragmentation, land fragmentation, where the plots that we are going to try to restore are too small and sometimes are owned by multiple individuals or maybe companies, so that can complicate terrible the coordination of large-scale restoration efforts. And you need to negotiate with numerous landowners, and that can be time-consuming and complex. And finally, about economic losses. Sometimes landowners, well, not sometimes, but most of the time, they are concerned about potential economic losses if restoration actions are going to be implemented, because they can maybe limit agricultural, forestry, or other commercial activities. Therefore, compensation mechanisms may be necessary to incentivize this participation. Well, that is a small introduction. I would like to don't waste time to the speakers. The first speaker is Luis Fernandez Reija. He was the project manager of the life project In Common Land. He works in the environmental service at Lugo Provincial Council in Galicia region in the northwestern Spain. And he's a certified forester. So I give the floor immediately to Luis Fernandez Reija. Luis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, José, for the presentation, and thank you to the organization to invite us to this meeting. Next slide, please. Well, as José says, this project, Life in Common Land, is located at Serra do Sistral, found in the region of Galicia, northwest or corner of the Iberian Peninsula. It has been designated as a special area of conservation, where human and land use coexists with natural elements of incalculable value. This project has a total budget about 2 million euro and is focused to conserve three priority habitat types in this place: Atlantic wellheads, active raised bogs, and active blanket bogs. In case of active blanket bogs, these mountains possess Southern Europe's best representation of this habitat type. The participants of this project was the Provincial Council of Lugo and as project coordinator and the Universities of Santiago de Compostela and A Coruña. But the participation of the common land owners has been fundamental to the project success, and they have been taken into account at every step of its implementation. Even before the project began, they were contacted and considered as a particularly important partner. The project was born to reverse various threats to target to the menaces target habitats in Serra do Sistral. Next slide, please. Well, the goals of the project were to develop and implement a management model based on conservation results, that provide a conservation results payment scheme, to improve and increase the area of target habitats, to disseminate and transfer demonstrative management measures, and engagement and involvement of landowners, communities, in nature conservation through cattle farming and enhance awareness about ecosystem service and common land communities as management units. Next slide, please. As I said, people and livestock are the key to the conservation of these areas of high natural value. The conservation of these priority habitats are linked to a traditional extensive grazing system that actually is being reduced because of rural abandonment and predators, and is linked also with communal owners of these communal lands and the ranches among them. Next slide, please. I show in this slide the workflow of the project. All this work was carried out jointly with community members, as was the selection of sites for the conservation and administration actions. These were divided into 3 types: grazing management, correction of grazing impacts and infrastructure, and elimination of exotic species. We must also highlight the monitoring and impact actions to which the Lugo Provincial Council's payment for soil system was applied. Next slide, please. To involve the landowners and farmers, our tools were start an early contact with them as soon as possible. We have an idea of our project, and we began the contact with owners 1 year in advance before we have the project work. The contact and the sensibility with the owners was fundamental. We were with them at their home and their land, literally. We listened to all their problems. We used with them a clear language to explain the project and their involvement, what can be done, what cannot be done. And we tried to be willing to dedicate the necessary time to them. Next slide, please. We try to gain their trust. The project is long and results will be slow and calm. We have a continuous contact of working with them, valuing their work and life. And we work with facts and results in the field in real life. Next slide, please. When the going gets tough, we try to approve all our actions with the communities. For example, in the forest management plans, we were able to approve 10 forest management plans, always taking into account the sensibility of the owners. Next slide, please. The evaluation and monitoring of the conservation status from the beginning to the end of the project was crucial for implementing this payment system for conservation results. The Provincial Council of Lugo implemented the entire administrative process, supporting community members so they could request payments based on their conservation results. The process was successful. Also, at the administrative level, it was necessary to clearly explain that payments were based on results and not on specific actions. which represented a significant conceptual change. Next slide, please. I show in this slide the distribution of payments in the 10 forest communities project. We arrived to pay about 300,000 euros in the communities in our partners in this project to the owners of forest areas. Next slide, please. Well, the project for us has been a huge success, as demonstrated by the birth of the Rural Share project, which emerged as a continuation of this project once the Life in Common Land project was completed. And during the after-life period, 4 new management plans were approved in Galicia and 5 in the Basque Country, following our model of management of the land. Therefore, Life in Common Lands continues alive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Luis. I think that it's really a great example of to reach agreements with the commoners, as you said, yeah, the people, the owners of the land, and particularly in this area where the wild horses is a main asset for these people, these inhabitants. And well, I would like to say to you, in the agreements, you start to arrange all that agreements really at the very beginning of the project, yeah, because without the agreements it's impossible to implement this life project. So could you explain really very quickly, because we are running out of time. How did you start the first steps of to try to reach these agreements, please?
Like I said, we as a team moved to the land. We were with them from the beginning. We have an idea with this project. We got clear with what we want to do in these habitats. And we know that without the help of the owners, it was to be impossible. So we began with them to work from the beginning. We take them like a collaborator as us, as a university of the Provincial Council of Lugo. They were, in fact, the really the most important partner in this project.
Okay, great. Thank you. I can see that there are no other questions in the Slido, and if well, I think it's we can talk maybe later.
Okay. Thank you very much.
The rest of the session. Yeah. Okay. We go very quickly to the second speaker. Well, sorry, the second speaker is Karsten Horup from Denmark with the project Life Orchids. I have been informed that Karsten is not online. He has experienced some problems with his internet connection. So we are going to the third speaker, Mélanie Nemoz. I hope to pronounce correctly. Mélanie Nemoz is the project manager of the project Life Paysanne in France. She works at the Conservatory of Natural Spaces of Occitanie region, that is based in Toulouse, in the south of France. And she's trained as an agronomist, and she has worked during 15 years at the Occitanie Conservatory of Natural Spaces, which is an NGO dedicated to biodiversity preservation in the south of France. So I give the floor to Mélanie Nemoz and the Life Paysanne.
Thank you very much for your invitation. Next slide, please. To start off, I will make a short presentation of the three main actions of the Live Biodiv'Paysanne project. The first one is the preservation of a network of managed natural sites at the scale of the Occitanie region. The action deals with fauna and flora survey in order to identify issues and prioritize. And management plans are elaborated and good practice to restore these ecosystems are implemented. Next slide. The two other actions are related to agroecological transition of the territory. The first one is the experimentation of an agricultural model dedicated to the preservation of biodiversity and valorization of natural resources as or local and mixed seeds. The ultimate goal of this is to create a self-finance tool to manage grasslands and also to create a model for farmers who can be interested by replicate these actions. And the last action is the implementation of the elaboration of a cross-diagnosis farming tool, combining ecologic, agronomic, economic, and social data. And it was implemented on 60 farms at the scale of the Occitanie region. And the objective is to improve biodiversity at the scale of each farm. Next slide, please. To reach all these actions, it is compulsory to access to land and to guarantee it on a durable time. And so on this slide, I just underline the information about access to land. And for example, for the preservation of the network of managed sites, we are working on 27,000 hectares, which were purchased or contracted before the beginning of the Live Biodiv'Paysanne project. And the aim is to increase this network of 10% during the Live project. So next slide, please. One of the main factors to access land and is to mobilize a large panel of different land tools. Of course, land purchase, which permit to have areas definitively dedicated to nature preservation and permit us to have a very total land use control on this area. But we use also different land contracting. For example, 20-year management agreements. It's the case, for example, on the 60 farm, and it permits us to guarantee that the action will be maintained after the end of the project. We use also leases. For example, for our agricultural model, we needed to lease 35 hectares to experiment practices and to stock machines. And we also contracted free ORE. The translation is real environmental obligation. I think it's a specific French tool. It permits the owner to add an environmental protection on his site, and this protection will go on even after property selling. So it's very interesting. Next slide, please. Another important case is to work with different partnerships and actors. Among the 7 beneficiaries of the Live Biodiv'Paysanne project, 5 are involved in land management and competent to access to land. And this complementarity between partners can be very important. Next slide, please. For example, last year, 100 hectares of high biodiversity value area were for sale. So 100 hectares is a very big acquisition. And we associated with Terre de Liens, an NGO dedicated to preserve agricultural lands and promoting agroecological practice. and one sheep breeder to buy all these 100 hectares. As you can see on the map, we share the acquisition. And so this partnership permits to guarantee the preservation of the 100 hectares and the installation of 2 extensive breeders to maintain habitats of interest. Can you come back to the previous slide, please? Okay, thank you. The Live Biodiv'Paysanne project works also with partners as SAFER. SAFER is a French rural settlement and land planning society. The relations are not always easy, but it's permit, for example, that the SAFER share with us all the land in sale in the sector that we identified with high biodiversity value. And of course, contacts with territory actors as departments, municipalities, owners, and so are also very important to opportunities to access to lands. At a larger scale, we can say that the Live Biodiv'Paysanne project permits us to get involved in European networks as access to land. And last year, for example, we organized, thanks to the Live Biodiv'Paysanne project, an European seminar on agriculture and biodiversity. And some workshop of this seminar was about the problematic of access to land. And it permitted to share problematic and to try to find collective solutions. So next slide, please. Next. Okay, thank you. To finish, a few recommendations. Purchasing is a very strong tool for land access, and it's very, very important that live financial tool makes it possible. Next slide, please. But it's important also to say that preliminary land acquisition phase can be very long and important. For example, on the map, you see a red circle, and one of my colleagues of this sector worked several years before the Live Biodiv'Paysanne project to consult local owner, local actors, and it permits at the beginning of the project to buy several areas in this sector. The first point is the fact that we experience in the life a multi-site approach for the management of our areas. And we try in some sector to use this multi-site approach to prioritize and to define a land purchasing strategy. And the last point is just, as we ever said, that it's important, next slide please, that it's important that land and biodiversity preservation actors should work together at local and international scale. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mélanie. Very interesting. You have pointed out the problematic with to purchase land, because sometimes farmers or proprietaries are really very reluctant to sell their lands, mainly for that psychological and tease with the earth. Yeah. Well, when you are you show the difference between purchase versus contracting, yeah, land contracting. You say that in your project land purchasing is 10-fold surface in hectares related with purchase. What was more complicated, to purchase the land or to make that contracting agreement?
To purchase land is more difficult because, as we say, and as Louis say also, it's needed an important consultation phase to convince the owner. It needs also important financial means, and so it's more difficult. But the advantage is that it's strong, and that we know when the conservatory buy a land, we know that it's definitely dedicated to land preservation. So it's very important. It's easier to contract with an owner, but it's more vulnerable. For example, in the Live Biodiv'Paysanne project, last year, an owner decided to stop the management agreement on a natural area, and we couldn't do much about it. But the fact to use all this tool permit to have action on a large network of sites.
Okay, understand. Well, there are also some questions in the Slido. Well, two questions, but it's a little bit general questions, and is not refer exactly to your project. Maybe we can follow with these questions later on. So we go to the third speakers. That is really the fourth one, and this is Carsten is not there, still not there. Is Mr. Reinhardt. Strubbe. I hope to pronounce correctly the name. Strubbe. Reinhardt Strubbe is the project coordinator of the Belgian project Live DUNIAS. He works at the Agency for Nature and Forests in Belgium, and Mr. Strubbe is a DUNe ecologist and an invasive species biologist specialist. So I give the floor to Mr. Reinhardt Strubbe.
Thank you, José. It's Strubbe, in fact, but it doesn't matter. So I'm giving a talk about Live DUNIAS, which stands for Dune Restoration by Tackling Invasive Alien Species. Next slide, please. A short introduction just to show our beautiful coastal nature in Belgium at our Flemish coast. So at the upper left corner, you can see our beautiful dune grasslands with lots of herbs, orchids, butterflies, and so on. On the upper right corner, you see embryonic dunes with species as Caecula maritima, sea holly, also a lot of bird species breed in it. In the middle, you can see white dunes, which are also very interesting. You have a lot of insects, mushrooms, natterjack toads, and so on. And then on the right, you see the humid dune slacks. So all the pink dots are orchids, Dactyloryza incarnata. So these are really biodiversity hotspots in our dunes. And then at the bottom, you see the Salicornia vegetations, so the salt plains. And then you see the bushes, the sea buckthorn bushes, which are also very interesting in autumn for birds. Next slide, please. But unfortunately, we have the problem of invasive alien species in our dunes. So I think it's quite clear on this picture. You can see Rosa rugosa, which is an invasive alien species from Asia, which is invading our dunes with hectares in massive amounts. I think it's quite clear on this image. The Rosa just outcompetes all this beautiful endemic vegetation that I have shown on the previous slides. And we have just a monotomous vegetation where lots of species have disappeared. And this Rosa is not the only invasive species in our dunes. We have identified more than 50 invasive alien scrub species. I think of Mahonia acifolium, Bacharis halimifolia, Alianthus altissima, and so on. Next slide, please. But luckily for us, the Live DUNIAS project was approved. So in this project, we have a budget of around 7 million euros and quite a big project area of around 3,700 hectares. So you can see it on the picture. So everything in black is the project area. So it's all the dunes we have in Flanders between the Panne and Knokke Heist. And the interesting part is before the project started, we were able to persuade 15 partners, which are the largest dune owners or dune managers in this project area. So I have put them at the bottom. For instance, at our coastal municipalities, NGO Natuurpunt, the Ministry of Defense, Aquaduin, which is a water company in the dunes, some golf courses, and so on. And this is very important because you can see all the red dots on the slides, and all the red colors are invasive alien species. So I think it's quite clear they just grow everywhere in our project area. So you can't just tackle invasive species just on the property of one landowner. You have to combine the efforts. You have to take all the landowners in such a project. So we are very happy that we could persuade them to go in this live project together with the Nature and Forest Agency. So we could persuade them by the EU subsidy, also by the combined management effort. I will talk more about that later. And of course, also because of the problem of invasive alien species. We know if we don't do anything, they can grow up to 1 meter per year vegetatively by their roots. So if you don't do anything in 10 years, total dune landscape can be totally overgrown. So that poses big problems. And we will remove at least 50 hectares of these invasive alien species in all our dunes. Next slide, please. So this slide zooms a bit more in at the municipality of Coxide. So you can see 4 colors. In green, that's us, that's the Nature and Forest Agency. In orange, that's the municipality of Coxide, who is also a dune owner over there. In pink is the Belgian Ministry of Defense, which also owns some dunes. And in blue is Aquadune, which is a water company. And then all the yellow dots and the red small dots are invasive alien species that occur on these dune terrains. So I think when you see this image, it's quite clear. It shows the importance that we need to cooperate with other dune owners. If we only tackle invasive species in our territory, the other species might arrive again in the future from other lands. So it's very important to combine the efforts. So how do we do that? We, as Nature and Forest Agency, we coordinate a lot of external contractor works. I will show that in one of the next slides, how we do that. We also have NGO Natuurpunt, who works with their own workers and also tackles invasive species in the terrains of partners. And also 2 partners, NGO Natuurpunt and a golf course, tackle invasive alien species themselves with their own workers. Next slide, please. And that's not the only thing we do. We also try to make contacts with private gardeners and other landowners. That's very important. You have a lot of private land bordering our dunes. So we try to visit all these people personally, all the gardens that border our dunes, because we know that invasive species might escape from private gardens into our dunes. Then we talk with them, we talk which species they have in their dune, what they can do about it. We give them free personal advice, which species they can plant instead, and so on. Of course, we can't oblige them, but by now many residents already have taken actions, or they indicate that they will take actions in the future. So that's very nice to see. And another action is that we purchase private dunes. So our goal was 30 hectares, but by now we are already over that goal. So that is super nice, because in these private dunes, we can't tackle invasive species, but after we buy them, of course, we can tackle them. So it's very important to purchase these dunes. Next slide, please. So I just put this slide in my presentation because I think it's very useful information for other managers. So how do we do this? Basically, we dig with an excavator to certain depths, after which we sieve the invasive alien species out of the soil. For instance, for Rosa, we dig to a depth of 1 meter. For Mahonia, we dig to a depth of 60 centimeters.
Excuse me, Reinhardt, 1 minute, sorry.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So the tool you see here is a star sieve, we call it. So the yellow brushes turn around, the sand falls through the sieve, and the plant materials we can just bring to a decomposer. Rooting depth depends on the soil type. So in sand, they will grow deeper than in clay. Follow-up is very important, and it's important to take into consideration a buffer zone. Next slide, please, which is my last. So this is very interesting. On the left, you see a totally overgrown landscape. On the right, you see a landscape we have cleared. You see the nice dune again. And it's interesting to mention this is a landscape with 3 landowners. So we have Nature and Forest Agency. We have the Agency of Road Traffics and the Agency of Coastal Protection. So this is a combination, a combined effort of 3 landowners that we see on this slide. So here we restore the white dunes, and it will evolve towards gray dunes and vegetated dunes. Okay, thank you. This was my last slide. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Reinhardt. It's a really very interesting project, and I could see that you could purchase only 30 hectares. It's not so much, but I guess that is after that a very good example for the other proprietaries about your actions against invasive alien species in those areas. But quickly question is, the other landlords are agree that maybe you can intervene in their properties, or did you find they are reluctant to go into the property to remove the invasive alien species?
Yeah, so we won't stop purchasing. So also in the future, we will keep on purchasing. That's one part. Another part is that we try to make voluntary agreements with people who don't want to sell. So, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I visited a project engineer in the project area, and he will pay for it himself to remove these invasive alien species. So these personal contacts are very important to visit people personally and talk about the problem in the area.
Okay, thank you very much, Reinhardt.
Thanks.
Then we go to the next speaker. Is Mr. Derek McLoughlin. He's the project manager at the life project Wild Atlantic Nature in Ireland. He started working as an ecologist in 2001. This is more than 20 years ago, and he has since worked on a wide range of ecological disciplines, including mammals, plants, freshwater habitats, and birds. And he's a PhD. I'm not sure about the birds, but he's a PhD. Well, I give the floor to Mr. Derek McLoughlin.
Jose, thank you very much, and hello everybody from the west of Ireland. Jose, perhaps it's true to say that maybe I'm for the birds, but okay, so just to run over a very brief oversight on Wild Atlantic Nature Life IP. I think Louise, Mélanie and Reinhardt really covered the importance of clear engagement with landowners, sitting around a table, drinking tea and working through issues like that. Next slide, please. In this presentation here, I'm very much going to go at a slightly different angle on some of the broader principles that we really need to look at here. Next slide, please. And again. So, key objective of Life IP Wild Atlantic Nature is the delivery of PAF. Next slide, please. With a particular focus on blanket bugs. And just to bear in mind that in terms of the context in Ireland, where we're looking at blanket bogs, we're looking at more than 80% of our lands are privately owned, are farmed by more than 30,000 farmers. So the idea of buying all of this or the likes, it isn't really on the cards. The management of this area, you're talking probably about 350 to 400,000 hectares. So you're talking huge areas. And of course, the Common Agricultural Policy is a really important source of income for these farmers. And again, to put it in context, 85% or more of our blanket bogs are in poor condition in Ireland. Next slide, please. So this is the key slide of my presentation. It's not very exciting and there's no nice pictures here as well, but this is what's extremely important in terms of the context and what we're dealing here. So by context, we're looking at formal and informal institutions. Our formal institutions are our government, our authorities, managing authorities, and our informal institutions are our farmers, our farming organizations and so on. So we know that from a policy perspective, policy responds to practice and shapes practice. Practice will be shaped by the place, by the geographic environment, and similarly with place and policy as well. And within Wild Atlantic Nature, we're very much in the center of that. we all know why government will be involved in nature restoration. There's obvious clear priorities and obligations there, but why would a farmer be involved in nature restoration? And we have to think about what they see, what's their perspective. And in this context, these areas are generally low productivity lands. They're lands that there isn't a huge income in terms of food production. So you're talking a huge proportion of the income, that's more than 100%, probably closer to 150% of their annual profit relates to CAP payments. So that's massively important. Succession rates, the younger people move to the cities. It's the same in many of these high nature value areas throughout Europe. So who's taking over my farm? Who's going to run what's gone through our family for years and years, centuries, potentially? And from a farmer's perspective, they're innovative and they seek opportunities and they seek business opportunities. They're looking for alternatives. They're looking to diversify. So in this instance, we look to the idea of presenting this opportunity to diversify the delivery of ecosystem services. So with the key message here of delivering high quality habitats. So our ethos would be very much that we reward the delivery of high quality habitats and we support the improvement of poor quality habitats, obviously taking into account all of those factors that I mentioned in terms of local context. The next slide, please. So in an Irish context, in our LIFE project, we, over the first 2 years, 21 and 22, we took in over 800 farmers to demonstrate this idea of a results-based approach. So the higher this ecological quality, the higher the score, and the higher the score they got, the higher the agri-environment payment that they receive. It makes a lot of sense following a scorecard approach that farmers can understand. Messaging is very clear, and then there isn't confusion. There isn't a sense of a threat from ourselves or from whoever that we're going to take over the land, or we're going to take the land from you, or we're going to any of these negative messages. It's very much considering what is the context in terms of the farmer's needs and wants, and where does that match with broader society. Next slide, please. So from our own perspective on the ground, a farmer can very clearly see a map like this that grades from low score being the red through yellow and orange, and the darker greens being the much higher scores, that this is a very straightforward and very easy way to kind of get an idea of condition. Condition, it relates to ecological output and the services that are provided here. Where it's low scoring, well then there's an impetus and there's an idea that one wants to add value to that land. And how do you do that? You do that through restoration, and we can support you in that. Next slide, please. And you can click that button again, thanks. So just to say that within Ireland, over the last, since the beginning of the new CAP, Ireland's CAP strategic plan has this cooperation project approach that has rolled this out to over 20,000 farmers, covering all of our blanket bog sites. The total budget for that is over 750 million, and it uses the exact same ethos. I mean, there's teething problems, we're getting going on it. The scaling up of something to such a huge scale is really, really challenging, but it's the exact same principles. Next slide, please. So when we have this idea that we can add value to land, then it becomes you diversify on your land, and we get these opportunities for employment and opportunities for upskilling and training, because the problem has become the solution to a very good extent. It has provided these opportunities to restore higher ecological status, better quality, better payments, and it's a very, very clear message. So we've got this initiative called Natura Communities, whereby we have, over the last 3 years, developed through 3 key pilot areas in the northwest of Ireland, the idea that on a local basis, that you've got teams that are trained and they deliver generally through the kind of a local development company model, because they're very robust in terms of the administration of funds and so on, that they deliver this. They upskill they're generally farmers and fishermen supported by ecologists that they now have in-house. So they deliver all the various different restoration actions that are required in these areas. And the top left photo is at the beginning of the pilot, and then you can see the bottom left is where those guys are now. But there's over 46 people working on these 3 projects full time at the moment, and we've just had an investment from our Shared Island Fund with the Department of Taoiseach, our Prime Minister, to actually expand that. That's an investment of 10 million. So it means that there will be really significant local employment in this, and it's all revolving around the need to improve the ecological quality, and land access comes about with that. Next slide, please. Thanks. So this is my final slide. So when we talk about land access, there is no doubt about it. You know, Louise went through it in very clear detail. That's sitting around a table and bringing farmers on board and so on. Here, this is kind of a higher level aspect to it. From the institutional context, the social, the economic, environmental context is extremely important, as I've mentioned. The alignment of policies, so it makes sense for landowners on the ground. But when it does make sense, and it's well suited to those that you depend on to deliver these, it works very, very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Derek. It's really also other interesting, very interesting project, and with several different sites, several different perspectives. It's also important here the cap payments and also how these payments can help the breeders to produce. But I understand there were 30,000 farmers, yeah, working in these peat box areas, yeah. Which is the percentage of or which is the acceptance rate of those farmers joining the LIFE project?
Well, within the LIFE project, we had about 85 to 90% uptake of our cohort, which was in the first 2 years. So it was about, I think we had 820 farmers of a total of maybe 950 farmers in 65,000 hectares of land. So it's a very, very high uptake rate, you know, into these programs. Yeah. Of course, in the national model, it's somewhat different. It's probably closer to 70% or thereabout, but there are other constraints from a budgetary perspective and so on. But within the results-based model, it tends to be a high uptake rate in these areas. But a really good point. I think that the uptake rate and what proportion is covered with participants is important.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I don't know if Karsten is connected from Denmark. Somebody can inform me. Is not connected. We have lost the 5 speaker. Ben or Oksana?
He's not connected yet.
Yeah, it's not connected yet. Okay. Yeah, it's sorry to hear that, but yeah, we have lost Karsten. Well, we go to make a moderated discussion based on the present project. I don't know if I have to check the some questions from there are good questions for the speakers. For example, one of the most voted is how do you ensure that landowners and other stakeholders see the value in participating in restoration activities? Someone want to answer this question? Raise it in Slido.
Jose,
yeah.
Maybe since my microphone's warmest, maybe like the process of say the results-based approach and indeed our Natura communities approach, where you've got actions being delivered on a local basis, is a hugely visual and clearly demonstrable way of how investment translates into results. It becomes, and it attracts kind of quite a competitive streak amongst landowners. You know, how did you do in your scores? Oh, you got a 7 out of 10. Well, I got an 8 out of 10, for example. So it creates this one-upsmanship, perhaps looking at the neighbor, how have they done, and those scores are clearly translated. And you know, we've got a lot of evidence in terms of the ecological outputs of those, the quality in terms of Article 17 reporting and so on. So right the way through, the better the delivery, the better, you know, the result for those investors and those that are actually participating in that. You know, so I think it's an important model.
Okay. Well, I guess that well, each country is completely different, or there are some differences between countries. But I guess that one of the main reasons that are the farmers, when you do make a contact with them and you try to reach an agreement, the first idea that they have, they are talking about the how much spent the administration in, or how can they monetary help them, or they are really very interested in the ecological restoration and the improve of the ecosystems. I mean the balance is that two opinions are balanced, or they used to think more about okay, how much money I can earn from this ecological restoration, instead of to thinking about a little bit more in the future about the recover of that habitats.
Is that's
You know what?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Was that from me, Jose?
Yeah, I was talking in that case in Ireland, but
oh yeah. So just to say that we have a lot, like hundreds of examples of where farmers see plants, a positive indicator plants on their scores, and they think, oh well, there is more points for me. That's more, you know, money. A farmer will look at a field and think, how many bales of silage can I get off that? And the reason they think that is because they know that's money for them, that's fodder for their stock, etc. In the same way as they see good ecological quality, that it's framed in the exact same way, where you've got, yes, this functions well, that translates into better income for me because I've managed it in such a way I can invest in that in order to improve the ecological quality, you know, and ultimately benefit my income.
Okay, thank you. Someone want to answer this question, or we go to another one?
No, in our case, of course, economic aspect was important for them, but my feeling is that it was most important to put on value their history, their use, how they use how they manage the cattle with, and how we work in the land. For me, my feeling is that is most important that is more economic aspect.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, especially in that area, linked with the wild horses. That is,
yes.
I think it's the only place in Spain, well, except maybe in Asturias, that there are really wild horses in the land. Yeah.
How I said, they are really proud about this management. They have in Galician language called this kind of cattle bestas. Wild horses is called like bestas, and the tradition of the use of these animals in the field and in these habitats they are really proud about their history, you know.
Yeah, that is one of the main points. Also, when you try to get an agreement, is not well. Of course, the monetary is important, but also the heritage, yeah, or the future of that landscape, or the way of life of that people that are living in these rural or local areas is really essential to take into account. Yeah, that's true. For example, other questions. So we go. Do you see any challenge, any challenges in the long term with owning more and more land over time? Someone want to answer this question?
Yeah, maybe me from the Live DUNIAS project. So I think when you start, it's most easy to purchase land, and yeah, in time it gets more and more difficult. The lands get smaller. It's more owners. We say the low fruit you get in the start of the project, the most easy to get parcels. But of course, yeah, there will be a lot of hard to get parcels, and yeah, we just need to keep trying and trying. Sometimes we even have more than 100 owners for one small piece of parcel. That's a known problem in our dunes, because you have lots of owners. So yeah, just keep on trying, contacting them, and that's the reason why we have a person in Live DUNIAS who is busy with purchasing land. I couldn't do it alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for example, I'm thinking about what's happening in America, for example, where I mean, in Europe, usually when you purchase land, it's not local, but public administration used to buy land, or maybe NGOs, but NGOs not used to have a very big expensive power or expensive bigger resources to buy big areas. All in the USA, for example, or other part of America, they are private investors that maybe in Europe is not very usual to buy these plots. And I think that this question is not still in Europe. It's not introduced, still not introduced. But I think it's maybe in the future it can be a good point when a big investor can buy this land in order, of course, to preserve for the future. Well, other question is what role does national or regional local policies play in facilitating or hindering access to land for restoration? Do you have a good example for policies that have helped? Yeah, policies is always a big question.
Louise, just on that, like I think what I presented is a pretty good example of how policies align, where a single scorecard, for example, is a very good communication tool that explains very clearly why someone might be interested in land in terms of assessment of scores and potential restoration, but that aligns water, climate, nature policies, along with providing the flexibilities to the farmers to farm in any way that they want to. And if they're happy with the lower score, that's their, prerogative, I suppose. But ultimately that they make the decision based on their best, the best management of their own farm, and they're being rewarded for other services besides just food.
Yeah, your integrated project is really a pretty good example of that. And other examples in, I don't know, maybe in France, do you have good policies that can let the access to land for
what I can say is that in France, conservatories have an agreement, are recognized of general interest, and have an agreement with the state, which list of different missions. And so it helps us to justify our action, and also permit us to mobilize financing, what is very important to continue our action. And as we said previously, to go on manage more and more site and the network, more and more important of areas.
Okay. A question directly for live DUNIAS. How will dunes be managed after the end of the project? Invasive alien species work will need to be continued or regulated. How will funding be provided after the project?
Yeah, good question.
Several questions, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll try. So yeah, we will try to make afterlife agreements with the partners so that there will be monitoring also after the project to see if new species arrive in the project. In this agreements, we will also try to put that the managers will remove the invasive species themselves in the future, because in the framework of Live DUNIAS, the most invasive alien species will be removed. So in the future, the effort should be quite low to remove new seeds, for instance, that arrive in the dunes. Yeah, we ourselves give subsidies, project subsidies, nature we call it, to other managers, but it's quite small budget. So yeah, I think that are the things I can say for this question.
Yeah, well, it's a typical question, and especially the life program after the end of the life project. Is what is gonna happen with the afterlife? Yeah, it's always a big question. Yeah, fortunately, the life project consider always the afterlife plan, and to try really to continue your actions in the future. Yeah, with more or less successful, but most of the projects try their best to implement this afterlife plan. Yeah. Well, what innovative solutions have you found for gaining access to land for restoration, especially when dealing with private landowners, private landlords, or with the touchstone? Yeah, somebody wants.
Jose, yeah,
Yeah.
just like I think.
Derek, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're.
I think the guys, like, you know, I know at the beginning, Louise detailed very clearly the sitting down with landowners, understanding the context. There's no magic bullet other than time, understanding the social, the cultural context of the landowners that you're working with. You know, understanding what are the constraints with them, what are the challenges that they have, because ultimately they're the ones that you will need to manage the land. The land will the land ecological quality and so on will reflect the management, and the management is down to the farmer or the landowner. Yeah. And so understanding their constraints, what works well for them, what doesn't work well for them is absolutely vital. The social context, the economic and environmental context that they have, the mixed messages that they get, and you know, like sitting down in their home, understanding what their challenges are is the only way to build these things. As it goes to a higher level, of course, you need to incorporate that into it, and you can't visit everybody, but ultimately that's the only way to really make it work, to develop the systems that facilitate that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's for example, Luis Reija in the life in common land with the commoners have a very good example of how to deal with the landlords at the beginning, at the very beginning of the project. Or,
yes.
Priorly, yeah.
Yes. First of all, with the first approach with commoners was they were skeptic. They were skeptic because they are involved in habitats with vinculated to Natura Network 2000, and they see these are like a restriction, not an opportunity. And the beginning of the project was tough because of this. We have to work to explain that this kind of project is going to be good for them and for their habitat, because in fact they are, how I said, they are proud of this, of his land, of their land. So in one side they are like I'm affected for a very tough restriction, but they want to continue conserving the habitat. No? So this was difficult at the beginning, but finally we obviously the economic aspect was important, but they saw that they were important, and we finally get good agreements with them. No?
But you started, Luis, started the first contact with the commoners more than 1 year before the LIFE project started, yeah?
Yes, the project was approved on 2018, and we were working with them more or less a year in advance.
Yeah.
2017, we were with the first conversation, going to their houses, going to their barns, going to their land.
Okay. Some other examples about this with private land owners to the, I don't know, Mélanie, if yeah.
Just a word. I think in fact the most difficulty to contract the first agreement or to purchase the first area in a sector, because we see that the example, and when the owners see that we do when we restore ecosystem and so on, so participate to convince them that it could be interested to contract with the conservatory. So the example and to see that we do is very important.
Yeah, I know. Related with that, there is another question, not the next one, but the other one is Beatriz Sanchez has raised that. It's about land stewardship initiatives that I think that is closely related with the French LIFE project when you was talking about land contracting. That was quite similar to the land stewardship initiative. So which differences are between land stewardship, typical land stewardship initiative, with your French land contracting in your LIFE projects, Mélanie? Or maybe it's the same as when you...
I'm not sure to understand the question. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, this is one external participant, is Beatriz Sanchez, that I think that I know her. He said he asked about the land stewardship initiatives. Yeah. Well, she asked about how do you think this tool can contribute to restoration goals? Well, but I was trying to link it to exactly with your LIFE project. You talked about land contracting agreements in your project, yeah. And my question is, this land contracting initiatives in your project is exactly the typical land stewardship initiatives, because I think that when you sign an agreement with the farmers are they have to maintain during maybe 20 years this kind of actions to preserve the habitats. Don't come back to other intensive farm. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm not sure to exactly understand the question. Sorry, but I think that we use different tools. It depends on the action, on the actors, and it permits to how to say, to use specification for each tool. For example, with farmer, our agreement detail some actions that they have to put in their farm, and other action that it's not possible to put. And it's the case for the agreements. And for example, for the ORE, we use different conclusion on the, it's an official document, in fact, and which is certified by a notary, and which permits to give recommendation and to give things that the owner has to follow exactly with its area. I'm not sure I very clear, but I hope that it answers your question.
Yeah, I think it's quite similar to the land stewardship agreement. Yeah, I think someone wants to talk more about this initiative, about the land stewardship initiatives, in order to you have experience with that, trying to contribute the contribution of to restoration goals from the land stewardship initiatives, or do you have in your projects?
Certainly in an Irish context, like as I mentioned, with such a huge proportion of private lands, there are some stewardship initiatives in Ireland, but in our instance, I suppose the model that we're developing is that you do have this Natura communities approach, where you've got locally based paid labor that does a lot of this work and are involved in engagement and so on, but not specifically in our case in the stewardship model as such.
Okay, yeah.
José, can I just mention something else there on
Yes.
the previous point in terms of engagement with land access? One
Yes.
thing that I forgot to mention really is the importance of demonstrating it. And actually, Mélanie kind of reminded me the importance of demonstrating where landowners aren't familiar with restoration actions or what's involved or why would you want to access my land.
Yes.
To bring them to areas where this has already happened, you know, and that has been massively successful for us. So you go as a farmer, you go and you talk to another farmer, so you're talking the same language rather than talking to somebody like me, and you understand what their challenges are and what it looks like, and you can test it on the ground. In the same way, if you're buying a tractor, you're buying some piece of machinery, you'll go and have a look and you won't just dive in, and that builds confidence to be able to to reduce the fear of something new, and that has been a huge help for us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is very important. When try to develop a pilot project at the beginning and show that really works for other farmers or commoners or local people. Well, next from Slido again. It's about the budget. Yeah, this is a typical problematic. If your budget is limited, what system or criteria do you use to decide which site or area to prioritize for investment or intervention? Intervention in cases where the demand exceeds available resources and the ecological value is equal. How do you make the financial decision? Well, this is a very generalistic, multidimensional question, but I don't know if somebody has to show their experience, personal experience with that. Well, I guess that they are not clear solution for that, but
José,
that depend on
if I might just contribute to that, because it's a really good question, and it's one that every project and every member state faces, because we'll never have enough money. And how do you prioritize? And quite an interesting exercise that we would have done. We had a budget to develop a results-based program of 3 million. euro, and we had, you know, a certain number of farmers, you know, within our areas. We don't know what they're going to score, etc. We had an idea of potential average scores, but you know, as such. But the idea of the willingness to pay is how much money you have, the willingness to accept from a farmer's perspective. And we asked farmers, and we surveyed them in terms of their preference. Would you like that money to be kind of shared throughout everybody, so everyone's involved, or would you just like us to take the kind of highest priority? And from a farmer's perspective, they would prefer everyone to be involved and potentially lower payments there as such within that. And I think that's quite interesting. The second point is that when you look at the cost of delivering whatever you need to deliver, in the instance of results-based payments, is a certain amount. We calculated it at about €450 per hectare, but we couldn't span that out to cover the areas that we wanted, and that was reduced by nearly a half. You know, with the acknowledgement of the cost of this, but it's a willingness to accept and a willingness to pay. And then in terms of prioritization of area, it's very difficult. We would have, in terms of deciding, like where we would target first. We have the pros and cons of different areas. We have the targets in terms of we want maximum area included. We want it strategically located that we can maximize the demonstration purposes of that. And ultimately, you know, that will mean that some areas will be left out because they haven't got enough points in our scoring matrix to decide as to where to go. But it's a difficult one, but it does come down to kind of, you need a system to say this is how we're going to score this approach, you know, in terms of the prioritizing one area versus another.
No, in any case, it was a very generalist question, so it's not easier to focusing some on another issue. Oh, well, other question is, there are still 3 questions.
Can I just, sorry, can I just add something?
Yeah, Melanie, of course.
Okay, just I said during my presentation, we experiment in the live multi-site approach, and it permits us to integrate issues at a larger scale, and for example, to integrate a problematic of connectivity or species as a bird which have a larger area. And so it can be a tool to help to decide which site can be priority on another. It's interesting to have a larger scale to think about that.
Yeah, and also a quest to the farmers at the very beginning is really interesting. Yeah, that could help always. Are the farmers, landowners, ever involved in the development of the schemes or co-creation? If not, will such an approach work? Yeah, I think it's very clear for all of you to answer.
In our case, they were involved from the beginning.
Yeah.
And they take decisions, obviously, about the other questions. They were taken out in all the process, so they are involved from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't count into account with you don't take into account with the farmers from the very beginning, it's really very important. Very. It's impossible to follow and with continue with the project. Yeah. I think that is because the question is about will such an approach work? If not, another approach, or I guess that is quite different to substitute this first try to involve the farmers at the beginning with another approach. Maybe I don't know if you deliver quite a lot of information at the beginning, but I think it's take into account with all the stakeholders, principally the farmers, is essential in my opinion. Yeah. Well, maybe we go to the next question.
Reinhardt has his hand raised.
Yeah, I could just ask.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I could just ask some information from DUNIAS. I think it's a bit the same. We also involved the other landowners from the start of the project. Of course, we coordinated the works, but it was very important to involve them for yard roads, but also for planting afterwards. When we remove the alien species, we plant endemic marram grass or shrubs. So we need to talk with the other landowners to see their wishes for that. That's very important.
Yeah. But also, I guess that they receive all the available information about these issues, about the issues of the problems with the invasive alien species. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Melanie, and then Derek. Melanie?
Yes, just to say that the farmers in their project, the farmers were involved in the elaboration of the cross-diagnosis farm tool. They help us to see which point can be important, and the other important point is that we share with them the conclusion of the diagnosis, and we decide together which actions are priority, and we help them to do the actions. So they participate to the action from the beginning to the end.
Exactly. Thank you. Derek?
Yeah, and I suppose just to compound that the point, if they're not involved, it probably won't work. It probably won't work. It certainly won't work well, and it probably won't work. If you think of any other business of designing a model, designing a computer, designing a car, if you don't think of the end user who is going to be driving this, well, then it's not going to work. So that's vital. And I think with the likes of the models that we're using here, the flexibility is with the farmer to adapt their management positively or negatively, and their payments will just reflect that. It is important to seek feedback then on a feedback kind of basis, an annual or whatever interval period as well, to feed that back into improvements and adaptation of the program as well.
Just a specific question about your project. In your project, how many time lasts that first contact with the landlords and try to convince them or try to demonstrate that the future works is going to work properly? How much the time lasts? More than 1 year, or?
Well, in our case, we were perhaps a bit peculiar because we started at the beginning of 2021 in Ireland, where it was going to be starting as other European countries were the new CAP in 2023. So we used models, this results-based approach that had been previously tested, at least the basis of it had been previously tested, and we rolled it out across a whole new area in a very short period of time. So they had something to trial, to test over 2021 and 2022 in advance of it going into the CAP strategic plan. So it meant then that with constant I suppose feedback meetings and workshops and so on with farmers and managing authorities as well, Department of Agriculture and so on, that we were able to, I suppose, feed in the best suggested model into the national CAP strategic plan. So like in our case, actually within 6 months, we had 150 farmers involved in one site. That was nearly 90% of the farmers in one area,
Okay.
And again, just on the ground, if something seems like a good idea, they will often all come in and as a bunch. And if there's any sense that something isn't a good idea, there will, very, very few will come in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, next question is, could you elaborate on any legal or financial barriers you have encountered, and how do you have addressed them? Yeah, I guess that quite a lot of barriers. In this case, they are talking about legal or financial, and we have talking about the stakeholders barrier or farmers barrier in some cases specifically, but there are other barriers that we know, legal or financial. Some tips from your side, how to tackle with them, or some experience from your side, please?
Just to contribute a little bit to this, but it's one I would need to think about properly. Just one point that we have and comes up occasionally is the broader tax system of a given country is quite important as a consideration from a farmer's perspective as to whether to participate or not. And you know, we had you know, an 85+% participation rate, and those that weren't participating, some of those, their income would increase somewhat to go over a tax threshold, and the implications of that were relatively significant in that you know, college grants for their kids you know, were tied up with that as well. So they may, by exceeding a certain income threshold, they may lose out on other benefits. And to my mind, this is just a suggestion, I'm sure it may go no further, but like having a tax system that rewarded the delivery of public goods would be something that would be quite important for people to consider.
Thank you, Dick.
Yeah, maybe I can add something. Yeah, we had the issue in our dunes with unexploded ordnance, so a lot of historic relics, bombs, but also warehouses, not only on our lands, but also on the lands of the partners. So yeah, we just paid for a study to investigate historic images, also for the other partners to see where we had risk zones, so that the machines didn't explode or something when we were working. So I think that was very important that we coordinated that study.
Yeah. I know the problem. I was living in Germany a couple of years, and there was always some incident with unexploded bombs from the Second World War. For example, about sorry that I interpelled you directly, Luis. In your project, you have some issues with the wind farms in the area. Have some legal problems when you try to no, or not? It's not really an issue there.
No, like I said, the problem with in this theme is the view of the owners with the Natura 2000 network, Natura's network. They are really skeptic with this regulation, and they see this regulation like a problem, and like not like an advantage. And this was the most difficult of the project. No? And also they have or they talk to us of a problem for them, that is the predators, wolf in their case, and they have big problems with this predator. For them, the regulation or the law here in Galicia with the measures of wolf is problematic for them, because they receive payments for the horses' death, but they have to in any way to prove that they were attacked by the wolf, and the inspectors spent several days to arrive to the place, and many times there is no horses or any animal there, so they can receive these payments for this damage, and this is a great problem for them. They are really worried about this.
The wolf is another another big issue that it could be a very good networking a day or networking week about wolf could be.
Yes, in this project, in every meeting we have with them, they say to us that they have a great problem with wolf. We try to explain and to be really sensitive with this.
I know. That is for that reason I said that it could be a great another networking. Sorry to interrupt you, Luis, but I think that it's time to coffee break, and I think that we have 10 minutes coffee break, and we continue later. If somebody from behind want to say something, or we disconnect until it's 6 minutes to 11. We can reach a quarter past 11. Come back in 10 minutes.